when a schedule breaks, the NFL puts all the information into software, and it spits out 300,000 schedules. Not joking. And they end up with this. And so there's nobody works and crafts their schedule more of all the pro leagues than the NFL. And we as a network ask for certain things, not just Cowboy games. We ask for certain games at certain times, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. He's the head of strategy and analytics at Fox Sports, Mike Mulvihill, joining us. So it's a lot more sophisticated than people would ask, and you guys tend to, Mike, ask for things a year out. So when the schedule was released yesterday for the first time, give me one or two things that you wanted and you got.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. Great to talk to you. Definitely one of the most exciting days of the year for us and all the NFL partners when the schedule comes out. On our side, the thing that we look at first are the Sunday afternoon 4:25 games. You know, those late games on our doubleheader weeks are actually the number one show in all of television, most watched show in TV, primetime or otherwise. And so we treat those windows with a lot of seriousness, and we think a lot about what games are of a high enough quality to be there. What we really like about our Sunday 4:25 window this year is that each of those games has one of two characteristics. Every game that we're going to showcase at 4:25 either has a Hall of Fame quarterback, like a no doubt about it future Hall of Famer, and we now have 4 of them in the NFC, or it features the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
So for the most important window on our air, and I like to think the most important window in all of the NFL, we're going to be able to rely on either the biggest brand, the team that traditionally drives the most viewership, or we're going to be able to rely on Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and in some cases 2 of those 4 going head-to-head. Wow. That's a really strong hand for us to be able to play.
Now, let's talk about Tampa. So, and this is a big deal. I think most fans get this, but in our world it's huge. Tom Brady has been on that CBS late game for 2 decades as a star in 15 to 18 of those years. He leaves. That's a big hole for CBS. Now we get Tom Brady. So do you expect Brady in Tampa to give you a Cowboys number? What is the expectation inside the rooms I'm not allowed to go in at Fox Sports?
Well, we'll try not to look too far into the future. You know, I think our expectation is that in the early part of the season, the interest in Tom Brady being in a new city and a new uniform and a new conference is going to be extraordinarily high. And the way that the league treated us in terms of Tampa Bay games is, I think, close to a best-case scenario. We've got 5 of the first 6 Bucs games of the year. And 3 of those games are particularly significant. You know, we've got the season opener against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. We've got Brady's first primetime game, which will be our Thursday night opener at Chicago in Week 5. And then the following week, we get to have Brady going head-to-head with Aaron Rodgers in Week 6, matchup, obviously, of unquestionably Hall of Famers. So we feel like we get to start the season in a really powerful way, focusing on that Brady in Tampa Bay story. And then the interest in Brady and the Bucs through the rest of the season will obviously just be determined by wins and losses.
Right.
So I think we're in a position where we can really take advantage of it earlier in the year, and then we'll see where it goes. But the league obviously has treated Tampa Bay as a marquee attraction and an elite draw. They've already maxed out on the number of games that Tampa can play outside of the Fox packages, which is they're the only team that's already maxed out. It's a pretty clear sign of the kind of numbers that the league expects them to draw on our network and elsewhere.
Mike Mulvihill, Fox Sports head of strategy and analytics, somebody I lean on a lot. Okay, so we know Dallas gets a number, but occasionally Tampa no longer counts as a sleeper. But is there a team out there? And we have the NFC schedule mostly. Is there a sleeper team that you and the Fox bosses look at and think, keep your eye on that team? Because you guys do have some flexibility later.
Well, it's interesting. You know, I think the teams that are rating sleepers are the teams that have powerful brands, have a lot of history, a rich history, but they maybe haven't had a lot of recent success. So in the last couple of years, you would look at San Francisco last year, a team that has an enormous history and a lot of Super Bowl championships, hadn't had that much recent success. Now under John Lynch, they're one of the elite teams in the league. They get to the Super Bowl last year, and they pop up as a big driver of viewership. Chicago was like that 2 years ago when they won their division.
Yeah.
You know, I obviously have an interest in promoting Fox and the games that are on our air, but to give a little bit of a nod to the other package, I think a team that has a potential to be a rating sleeper in the future is Miami, you know, on the CBS side of the board. That's a franchise that has an incredibly rich history.
It does.
When we were kids, they were contenders every single year for decades.
Yes.
Maybe not that much recent success. Now they add Tua. Tom Brady obviously has left the division. Maybe it opens things up for teams that haven't been able to get a division title in a long time. Whether it's this year or in the near future, Miami's one of those teams that is a powerful brand, and if they can get back to having some success, they can be a really elite driver of viewership.
Mike Mulvihill joining us. So I thought the Monday Night Football package was the best in a decade. Thursday Night Football used to be, I mean, let's be honest, 10 years ago, it was, you know, quirky uniforms and, you know, they were, you know, the Steelers looked like bumblebees. It was a lot of gimmicks because the matchups weren't very good. Fox has it, and it's obviously you've lobbied hard to get better games. And Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football, when I looked at it, Mike, all I saw was, man, there's a lot of good quarterbacks on those Thursday night games. Is there one game in particular on Thursday Night Football, how about two, that jumped out to you that you really, they fell perfectly for you?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, we certainly have tried to be more aggressive with the Thursday night package than maybe it had ever previously been treated, and we've grown the viewership for it in our first 2 years as the rights holder, and we've tried to be even more ambitious this year with the league's cooperation. We're in a great position because as the Sunday NFC rights holder, we're able to take games from our Sunday package and make them available to Thursday.
Yes.
And that's primarily why Thursday has been upgraded the way it has. I think the best Thursday games on this year's schedule are the best games that have ever been on a Thursday schedule. And you would probably start that conversation with the NFC Championship game rematch, Green Bay at San Francisco in Week 9. I don't know when there's ever been a conference championship rematch played on a Thursday night and on a short week, but we've got it this year, and it was placed in a really strategic place. I give the NFL more credit for this than we can take. It was really their idea. But the game will be played 2 days after the presidential election, which I think is really smart. You know, when you come out of what might be the highest turnout election of all time and a story that's obviously going to galvanize the interest of the entire world, we then have an opportunity to come in 2 days later and recapture that public attention with one of the really special games of the year. And that's something that there's a lot of history of that in the NFL schedule, of putting a really important game in a strategic midseason position where it can capture attention immediately after an election or maybe immediately after a World Series if you go back a little further. That's what they've done with Green Bay San Fran. I think it's really, really smart. And the other game on Thursday night that jumps out to me is Dallas-Baltimore. You know, we start our process, our entire process begins by thinking about how we want to use the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, and they have to play in that week after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Because their Thanksgiving game is their short week game.
Yeah.
We can only use them on a full week's rest the following week, so we know they're going to be there in late November. And to have them playing Baltimore, last year's number one seed on the AFC side, above the biggest brand in football with a new head coach, a really exciting new playmaker in CeeDee Lamb, against one of the most exciting offenses in the league and the reigning MVP, that's a terrific matchup. That really is the very first thing that we penciled in when we started this whole conversation.
By the way, there's a Thursday night game on Christmas, and I thought to myself, oh, that used to be the NBA's day. That feels strategic, right?
Yeah, we like that a lot. Look, I'm a very big believer that one of the things that helps strengthen the fans' connection to the league and to the product is when the league is part of a holiday, when the league is part of a day that is special to people all over the country. We're in a really fortunate situation this year to have the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving and to then come back a month later with this Minnesota-New Orleans game on Christmas Day. We're really grateful to the Saints for being willing to host a game on Christmas Day, and I think they're the right market to do it. It gives us really powerful matchups. In the case of the Christmas game, a playoff rematch in a game that ended in kind of a surprising way. on Christmas when everybody's at home. It'll be between the opening of the presents and everybody's Christmas dinner. Good time to sit down and watch a football game. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's a great way for the NFL to plant a flag on a second major holiday.
You know, it's interesting. NFL, you told me this yesterday, their software, they put all the potential games into software, and it just flies out. It just give me about a minute description of how much time and how much effort the NFL puts into their schedule.
Yeah, it's an enormous undertaking, and our role is really more as a lobbyist. We don't get to choose our games the way that we get to choose our games in college football, where we literally have a draft with Disney to set those matchups. The league sets the matchups. Our role is strictly advisory, and each network makes the best case they can for their game. So that process starts well before the previous season's Super Bowl. We have a very in-depth conversation just before the Super Bowl about what worked and could have worked better in the previous season and what our wish list is for both the Thursday package and the Sunday package. And then they take our requests, every other network's requests that come from the teams, logistical considerations like teams that share a stadium or share a parking lot with a baseball team or other conflicting dates that they might have. And all of these factors go into their software and into their modeling. And as you say, it spits out hundreds of thousands of iterations of the schedule until you finally get a couple hundred that merit kind of a closer consideration. And then at the very, very end, just before the finish line, it gets down to just one or two that they maybe elevate to the commissioner for a final approval. The effort that the league puts into it is extraordinary, and I don't want to overstate our role in it because we really are advisory, and as I say, we act more like lobbyists. They really bake the cake, and we're the ones that just put it in the display case. We benefit from all of their effort.
Michael Mulvihill, head of strategy analytics at Fox Sports. Great stuff. Good talking to you again, bud.
Great talking to you, man. Hope to see you soon.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.